Okay, readers, today we're going to work on being a mind reader to make inferences on what our character might be thinking or saying. So if we look at our chart over here, it says be a mind reader. Imagine what your characters might be thinking or saying. To know what our character might be thinking, we're going to make a think bubble. To understand what our character might be saying, we are going to be making speech bubbles. These two symbols will help us make inferences in our books. So in order to understand what our character might be thinking or saying, we need to first think about what is happening in the story, what we already know about the character, or what is happening to the character and the character's feelings, and what you might be thinking, or maybe what you might be saying. So to understand how to be a mind reader and to start to make inferences using think bubbles and speech bubbles, we're going to read a story from the Poppleton series by Cynthia Rylant, and we're going to read the story Neighbors. In this story, when we read, we are going to practice using speech and think bubbles to think deeper about our characters. Neighbors. Poppleton used to be a city pig. He did city things. He took taxis, he jogged in the park, he went to museums. Then one day, Poppleton got tired of city life. He moved to a small house in a small town. Poppleton's small house was charming. It had a little sunroom where Poppleton took naps. It had lots and lots of shelves where Poppleton kept things. It had a little garden where Poppleton planted corn. And it had Cherry Sue. Cherry Sue was Poppleton's new neighbor. So if we first think about our five-finger retell, we know our characters are Poppleton the pig and Cherry Sue, who is a billy goat. Our setting right now takes place outside, but it is at Poppleton's house where he's meeting his new neighbor, Cherry Sue. So if I think about what I might be thinking, if my new neighbor came over and brought me flowers, I might be thinking, wow, what a nice neighbor I have. So I made a think bubble to show what Poppleton might be thinking when Cherry Sue comes over to bring flowers. And he might be thinking, wow, what a nice neighbor. Cherry Sue was very friendly. In the morning she called out, yoo-hoo, Poppleton, would you like some oatmeal? So Poppleton had oatmeal with Cherry Sue. In the afternoon she called out, yoo-hoo, Poppleton, would you like a toasted cheese? So Poppleton had toasted cheese with Cherry Sue. So if we look over here when Poppleton and Cherry Sue are eating, I'm going to make a speech bubble for Poppleton, my character, because I'm thinking that Poppleton might be saying to Cherry Sue, yum, this is delicious, thank you so much, especially since Cherry Sue has been so kind to Poppleton. At night she called out, yoo-hoo, Poppleton, would you like spaghetti? So Poppleton had spaghetti with Cherry Sue. This went on day after day. At first it was fun, but not for long. So we can tell our story plot is changing because Poppleton's feelings about Cherry Sue are also going to change. So I made a think bubble using what I know already about Cherry Sue, who keeps coming over to Poppleton's house or inviting Poppleton over to her house. And I made a think bubble for Poppleton that says, oh no, why does this keep happening? Because Cherry Sue keeps calling her name. Some mornings Poppleton did not want oatmeal. He wanted to sleep. So I know when I want to sleep, I don't want anyone disturbing me. So I made a think bubble looking at Poppleton's face, which isn't a really happy face, and wrote, leave me alone, I'm sleeping. Some afternoons Poppleton did not want toasted cheese. He wanted TV. Some nights Poppleton did not want spaghetti. He wanted to practice playing his harmonica. but Cherry Sue kept calling, "Yoo-hoo, Poppleton." So I know the problem in my story is that Cherry Sue will not leave Poppleton alone, being that Poppleton is her neighbor. One day, when he was watering his lawn, Poppleton couldn't take it anymore. When Cherry Sue stuck her head out the window and yelled, "Yoo-hoo," Poppleton soaked her with the hose. "Poppleton!" cried Cherry Sue, dripping. So I can tell that Poppleton's getting a little frustrated and annoyed with Cherry Sue always saying his name. So I'm going to this time make a think bubble for Cherry Sue. And she might be thinking, "Poppleton, I have been so kind to you. Why are you wetting me?" Poppleton felt awful. He ran to get a towel for Cherry Sue. "I'm sorry, Cherry Sue," said Poppleton. "I just got so sick of toasted cheese and spaghetti and oatmeal. Sometimes I just like to be alone." "You too?" said Cherry Sue. "I kept inviting you over because I didn't know how to stop inviting you over," she said. "I thought it might hurt your feelings." Then Poppleton soaked himself with the hose. They laughed and laughed. Poppleton and Cherry Sue were best friends from then on. So we can see at the very end of the story, our problem gets solved, our solution, by Cherry Sue telling Poppleton that she also didn't always want Poppleton to come over, but she didn't know how to stop Poppleton from coming over. She wanted to keep inviting him. So it looks like at the very end of the story, when Poppleton soaks himself, that Cherry Sue and Poppleton stay together and forgive each other and are still very best friends. So if I am a mind reader and I think deeper about my story, I can make an inference and make a think bubble for what my character might be thinking, or a speech bubble for what my character might be saying. So you are now going to try to make speech and think bubbles in your independent books. Have fun.